I'm going to show you guys a cheese way that you can farm territory standing super fast for super, super cheap. Most of the time, super cheap. I'm also going to show you all the other ways that you can get territory standing, and I want to talk to you guys about the best cards to spend your territory standing rewards on. Now, max level for territory rewards is, I think, 300. That's what I've been told from multiple places. And that once you allocate these, at least for now, when I made this video, it is permanent and there's no way to undo it. Now, maybe someday in the future, they'll add some paid thing in the store that'll let you reset them or something. But as of right now, they are completely permanent. So you are stuck with what you get. So before I go into the cheese, best thing is Town Project on money. If you do the cheap ones, like fish oil or something has become cheap now. They're 0.02, but they give a ton of territory standing. This is better than the cheese on money. But these are limited by time, because you do these and you have to wait 30 minutes for it to refresh. But if you do want territory standing in a place and they have any missions available for you, if they have any cheap ones, then go ahead and do it. Remember, you get a little bit of coins back. So if you do a cheap enough one, like on my server, fish oil is free, then I actually get paid a tiny amount of coins in order to level up the fish oil with fish oil and get territory standing. Okay, but that's not the cheese. There's a much, much, much better way to get it as far as getting it in bulk. So there's something you can do that is completely OP if you have a little bit of money to spend. The more money you want to spend, the more money, the more territory standing you can convert. So the way to do this is you go to the trading post and you go to cooking ingredients. And then you organize by price. Now, right now, the cheapest stuff is 0.02 on my server, which is actually not that great. Now that the servers are getting so late game, you can often find these foods for 0.01. If you don't, consider clicking on them, or not clicking on them like that, but you type going to each one. So red meat, for example, is a pretty cheap thing normally. And placing a buy order. Now, this is my buy order right here, but if you can get these for 0.01, that's great. If you get it for 0.02, still decent. If you get it for 0.03, it's okay. And then anything beyond 0.04 and it's starting to be kind of costly. So 0.01 is going to make this what we're about to do. It's going to make it right on par with doing the actual job board, like the cheap job board items, as far as cost per territory standing XP. So what we're going to do is, I already have some of these bought to show you. We're going to go over and we're going to cook some meals. But the thing about meals is that it does not matter what meal you cook as long as it's tier 1 or tier 2. Unless you get tier 3 foods for cheap. But here's the thing. A tier 1, okay, uses one of a tier 1 food. Or, yeah, one of a tier 1 food, okay? But it gives 1 territory standing in order to use 1. Whereas the tier 2, it uses 2 items, but it only gives 2. And 3 items, it gives 3. 4 items, it gives 4. I tested all of them, and this is on 1.1 at least, so. And 5 items, but it only gives 5. This only gives 5 territory standing per. So you don't want to do the 5, you don't want to do the 4. Even the 3, I wouldn't even bother unless you get tier 3 food for cheap. But generally, you're just going to stick to 1 and to 2. So basically, whatever you do, you're going to want to burn the tier 2s first, and then if there's any tier 1s left over, then go ahead and do one of the tier 1s as well. So in this case, let's say I would burn the red meat, and I would pick a tier 1 like the mushroom, and then I will make all these. So right there, that's 478 standing for only 500 ingredients. I paid 5 coins. So I paid 5 coins for basically 5 coins for 500 territory standing is how that worked out. And then we go down to a tier 1. We'll stick on these fish fillets that I bought for 0.01. We'll do 1,000 of them. And there's another 1,000 territory standing for, in this case, was it 10 coins? Yeah, 10 coins for 1,000 territory standing. When you're done, though, there's a small pain in the butt, which is that you are going to have to drag these over and discard these. I don't know if there's a shortcut key. If there's a shortcut key, I'm sure I'll find out in a moment in the comments of this video. But, yeah, you're going to have to throw these away. If there's a shortcut key, I'm going to have to pin the comment and be like, by the way, there's a shortcut. Click this and just throws on the ground. So yeah, you're just going to try to get food for 0.01 whenever you can, or 0.02 is even a decent conversion still, but 0.01 is like an insane conversion. It's actually so cheap. It's just as good as the best job board missions you can do, but there's no limit on it. The job board you can only do once every 30 minutes. This, you can literally pump as much money into this as you want as long as the items are available on the trading post, which makes this hands down the best way to level your territory standing in the entire game by far. For me, from now on, I'm always going to try to buy things when I see them that cheap and just burn them into territory standing wherever I want to get territory standing until I have 300 territory standing in every single settlement, which is kind of an end game goal of mine that I'm looking forward to. But there are other ways to do it, and also I want to talk to you about what cards to consider buying when you're doing this. So other ways is just basically anything that gives XP. So you can do your faction missions, and the first 3 of the day give bonuses where you get 10 times of everything. And that should get you 10 times more territory standing. Now, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it works that way. So if you want territory standing somewhere, then go ahead and do your first 3 daily faction missions wherever and go ahead and get the bonus there if you feel like doing it that way. None of these are going to be as fast as the last 2 things I showed you, but that's one way to do it. Also, if you've anywhere good to farm enemies, like in Restless Shore, there's these 2 posts, and they're really good for farming enemies. Farming enemies will get you decent territory standing if you can kill them fast enough in bulk. Now, you can also close the corrupted breaches, and those will give you, like 200 territory standing or whatever on every single one. So if you ever want to get a big group together and just close all those for Azoth or whatever, you'll also be getting territory standing. That's another way that you can do it. And then there's one that you can do, but it's only in certain territories like Restless Shore and Windsward, for example, which is to do expeditions over and over again and do the quests from those. And that's not going to be that fast, really, but that's just another way that you can get territory standing if you just want to do something different, and your main reason for even looking up this video and clicking this video is just to know how to do territory standing in general. That's one other way that you can do it. But using that food one is going to be your best bang for buck on conversion. Other than the job board, sometimes you can get ones on the job board that are really, really good deals, and that will be the way to go. Now, as for what to buy, so there are certain ones. None of these ones are, so like for example, right here, these 3, for example. Territory standing is something that if you're going to get it, and I would recommend getting a few of these, you want to get it early because every single card has diminishing returns. And you see here with gathering speed, once I get it this high, I literally get 0.2% more for each level that I buy. But this earlier one, you get like 2% for a level. So I always recommend getting territory standing, getting this card, every time you see it, unless storage is the other option, which we'll get to in a second. And then go ahead and get this one a few times till it's at 15% or 20%, because it only takes a few levels thrown down, and the sooner you get it, the more it'll do for you. Later on, though, a good one to get is Gathering Speed. Faction Reputation, me personally, I don't really get it. I just don't see it being all that valuable. But Gathering Speed's actually bugged, and apparently it's Yield, so even if it was Gathering Speed, why not? And then from these ones, it just depends on what do you do. If you're in a place that, wherever you are at, whatever card you're getting for wherever you're at, if it's somewhere that you're constantly buying and selling things, you're absolutely going to want trading tax. It's pretty straightforward. If it's somewhere you have a house, you're going to want to get property tax. If you don't have a house and you don't think you'll ever have a house there, then you don't bother with property tax. But a lot of these are ones where you might as well throw some into every because they all have diminishing returns. So if you only get these 3 as options, then you should at least put a few levels in each because it's 5%, and then you get 3, and then 2, and then whatever, and it slowly diminishes. So you always just want to throw some into everything. In my case, I will probably put property tax again because I have an expensive home in Windsward. And then it's going to go back to these ones. Now, every so often, it'll give you storage. In the beginning, it gives storage as an option very often. And I highly, highly recommend getting storage every single time. There's no better card in the game than increasing your storage space. There's also ones for XP gain, which I would never get ever because there is a point in the game where now you're level 60. So you don't need XP gain anymore. So that card is a complete waste of territory standing. So do not get the XP card. And that would be these cards right here. Don't ever get the XP gain. So there's storage. That's one you're always going to want to get. And then house ownership is one that you get. And you will definitely take it. But then every about, I want to say 10 levels of territory standing, or maybe it's more than that, it'll randomly throw out a card for increasing the number of items that you can put in your house. Now, I personally recommend it just because it's such a rare card and you only get it every so often that I just go ahead and grab them in case I ever want a house somewhere. I can have the maximum number of items. Now, it's kind of there's really not that much use for it other than trying to have the #1 home, but it's just a fun thing to get. If you feel like it's in a territory that you will never have a house, though, then I guess I would just ignore it in that case. But there you have it. That's everything I think to tell you about territory standing in New World, and there's the cheese way to level up. That's what I'm going to be personally doing all the time whenever I can get them, although it might be a lot harder for me to get them after making this video, but that's fine. I don't need a level territory standing, but if I ever do see those food items for cheap, I'm definitely buying them and converting my money into territory standing. I'm going to try to leave open a little bit of budget in my personal wallet to make sure that I always have some money available to invest in that whenever I see those deals. I'll also keep buy orders up whenever no one else does. And if I get those things instead of selling them to the market, I'll probably just burn them into food, especially when I get pork and red meat. Well, hopefully that helps you out. And if this helped you, consider subscribing to this channel. I post New World news and guides and helpful tips and tricks and different things all the time. I've been posting 1 to 3 videos a day for the past like 50 days straight, and I plan to keep doing that as long as I possibly can. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. But now you know a great cheese way to level up your territory standing for insanely cheap and in bulk in New World.